tacos. So you want tacos? Starts with a pan. And corn tortillas. And I know you're saying, but I don't like hard tacos. I don't like them either. But all good tacos start with corn tortillas. About 10 of them to about a pound of ground beef. That's good for 10 tacos. Need pan. Need canola oil. Couple paper towels. Pretty simple. A thin layer of canola oil on the bottom. You can use almost any oil. I like canola the best. You don't really want too much or too little. My pan might be a little small, but we're going to go with it anyway. You basically put it on high, let it heat up. Some other things you're going to need are going to be 2 forks. Basically what we'll do is let it get hot. We'll put a tortilla in, flip it over so that it'll be all coated in oil. Then we'll fold it in half, kind of rummage it around a little bit, flip it, keep it moving. We want it to be hot enough to sort of sear the outside without it soaking in. But if it's hot enough to sear the outside and you let it sit there for a second, it'll puff up and burn and it won't be great. With that being said, it's really easy to do this. And even if you don't do it perfect, it's still really good. It's going to take a little while to warm up, and we'll be back and use this sort of all broken nasty one to test and see how warm it is. Okay, so what you can't see probably, and I can't move the camera because I don't have a nice camera, is it's starting to ripple a little bit on the surface. It's not smoking or anything, but if you kind of get at the angle, it's kind of like heat waves off of a hot road or something like that. So that's probably somewhere right. And there's maybe twice that thickness oil on the bottom. It's not a lot. You don't usually need that much. You can take a little bit of sacrificial bit and throw in there, and that's what we're looking for. That's going to be pretty good. So, nice little sizzling, and that's why you should either wear an apron or not use a swimsuit when you're doing it. The thinner ones are harder to deal with, but they work. Just try and get them in there, flip them over really fast, and then fold them. Try to move them around a little bit. This is not overly hot yet. And as you're doing it, if it heats up, you can make them faster, and that'll pull a lot of the heat out of the oil. And if you sort of slow down and give a break, just a 2 or 3 second stall between them, yeah, we got a nice goldeny brownie, and you can't probably tell, but there's a slight crunchiness to it. Then if you try to fork in between them, you can sort of drain it off. Don't let it drop in the oil here, otherwise that would be bad. Can you see that? Does that look good? It looks good to me. It goes there, and another one. Just so long as you're not splattering the oil, you're okay. I try to put them, the forks back to back so that I'm not punching a hole in them, because when they first hit the oil, they're real easy to punch a hole in. And this is a non-stick pan, which I think helps, but be careful scraping your forks against the bottom of it. And as it's a little cooler oil, I actually have a little bit of a break. But that's basically all there is to it. You can leave some of them really long if you want, and it'll darken them up, and you'll kind of get used to what you're doing. If the oil isn't hot enough, they will come out all kind of soggy, and that's not good, nor is it healthy. And everybody thinks, oh, fried is bad. Ooh, see that one trying to puff up on me? Well, here's the deal with fried things. If you fry them hot enough and fast enough, the outside gets seared. That's probably not the right word, but this word I'm going to use. It gets seared, and it doesn't allow the oil to soak in. Yet you still get that nice fried effect, and it doesn't seem terribly heavy. I guarantee you I'll eat 5 or 6 of these things, and it will be a very lightweight kind of dinner. So you just keep repeating, And if you get one that puffs up on you too bad, just press it down, fold it over, don't worry about it. There's also not a whole lot of wrong you can do here. Even if you say stop paying attention and let it sit there and it starts burning a little bit, it's still quite good. It takes quite a lot to sort of ruin them. And since my heat is not terribly high, this whole thing isn't going terribly fast, which is probably good, certainly in the beginning. One of the things you don't want to do is stick your hand on the side of the pan, because it's quite hot. See, that one's done quite a bit more, and everybody will have sort of their own preference. Periodically, you could just sort of push them down. I got my sacrificial one in there. You just sort of push them down, you'll dab off any that's on there, but there's not much oil on that. If you fold them without flipping them, well, you don't have to flip them, but the point is if you fold them over without them having a coating of that oil on them, they have a tendency to stick to themselves, and then they won't really open up good. Also, if the oil's too cold, I'm turning it, well, it's about as high as I can get that one. If the oil is too cold, it also will, they'll sort of stick together, but it's much gooier, and does not make for a good taco. Personally, I like that. That looks great. And the taco in the end ends up not really hard. It's a soft taco still, but it has, I don't know how to say it. It has a hard, little, very thin crust. You will get a little bit of a crunch. Okay, by the way, I just folded that one over and I kind of got it really crooked. See? But my advice is if you get them a little bit crooked, leave them. Trying to fix them sometimes, you just tear them. Once they get done a little bit, they're pretty durable. They don't tear too easily. Let's see, what else is there? Well, that's really, I think, about it. Just keep making them. And the longer gaps I'm waiting is really heating up the oil more and more. You certainly don't want it smoking too much. Mine's starting to smoke a bit. Some of that, what you just saw go off there when I put the tortilla in, is steam. There's actually a fair amount of moisture in the tortilla. Even when we just opened the bag, it had a little moisture bubbles on the inside. That's about all I can think of. Try it, experiment with it, and see what you like. It still ends up sort of a soft taco, but with a crunchy bit, and it's much better than soft tacos with flour tortillas. To me, flour tortillas are too gooey. Hold them for your burritos. Use corn tortillas for tacos and for enchiladas. We'll do enchiladas some other time. But corn tortillas raw are an acquired taste or a shock in the middle of the night, one or the other. So, all right. Okay, here's our last one here. Shake that out. Go over there. Again, if you just think you didn't shake it out good, give it a slight dab. That kind of thing. You end up, turn the heat off, with them semi-hard, but still quite pliable. And they taste very, very good. And the different oil will make a different taste. You see how much oil I got left from what I started with? I had too much. And it can go right down to where you have nearly no oil at all. Still works pretty good. We're going to be making beef tacos. I don't know if you can see that. So we just took ground beef, chopped it up as small as possible, since these normal corn tortillas are actually quite small. And that's okay. I like small tacos. Just have many small tacos. And there's any generic taco sauce or something like that will work. You can make your own, put some tomato sauce of any kind in there. It's up to you. There are no rules. I would always suggest adding a bit of salt and pepper. But, you know, I'm somebody who eats noodles with just pepper on it, so I'm a little odd. At any rate, chop your vegetables, which are, I think it's officially required that there's tomatoes and onions. I'm not sure there's a rule, but there ought to be. And cheese. I don't put lettuce on tacos. It's just not something I ever grew up with, but you can put on chicken or fish or whatever you want to put on it. Taco is just a folded doohickey. Put in there as you like. Yep.
So now that he's made the tacos shells, we're going to assemble them. We end up having onions, tomatoes, and we have cheese. The cheese that he likes the most is Colby cheese on the tacos. And always gets the block of cheese and grate it, as opposed to being able to get the already shredded cheese. The shredded cheese has a coating on it that makes it not as fresh and soft with the textures that you'd actually want from the cheese to be on your taco shell. We need the hamburger. The hamburger was made with the ground beef, and you cut it up really small and keep it fried and empty the grease, and then you still end up frying it a little more to even sear more of that grease off. And then it has a taco sauce added with it. We put a little bit on the taco shell, then put some tomatoes, some onions, and some of the Colby cheese. So when you end up having your tacos, you end up taking just a small amount, like 1 or 2 spoonfuls of hamburger, and put it in your taco shell just to coat the bottom lightly. Take a few of your sliced really small, chopped up tomatoes, some of your onions, and then top it with the soft Colby cheese. So then you end up having your taco, which you can end up actually closing and having it stay together if you want it. So here are our finished tacos. We ended up making the hamburger and chopped the tomatoes and onions and cheese before we started making the tortilla shells. With that, we were going to make 10 tacos. So for the 10 tacos, we used a pound of hamburger and about 1/4 of a cup of taco sauce. And then we ended up using 2 tomatoes and chopped them up. We used 1 full onion, and after making 10 tacos, we had a lot left, so you actually only would need about 1/2 of an onion for 10 tacos. And for the Colby cheese, we ended up using a grater and grating our block of cheese, and we ended up using 8 ounces of the cheddar cheese. So that is all that you end up needing to be able to make your tacos. You end up making the hamburger, grating and chopping all of your ingredients, and then at the very end, right when you're getting ready to eat, you make your taco shells so that they stay warm.